Well, here we go.
Okay. So how many of you have ever purchased, worn, or ever seen a pair of Toms before? Cool. So have I. So Blake Mikowski is the owner and founder of Toms, with a vision of creating an opportunity for kids to go to school in foreign countries by giving them a pair of shoes so that they can go to school. I think it's a really great opportunity for people to have service when like younger generations to be inspired to do service for foreign countries, but I don't necessarily think that the business model that Toms has created is the best for giving aid to foreign countries. Kelsey Timmerman is the author of Where I Am Wearing, and he says that the problem isn't shoelessness, the problem is poverty. By giving away shoes, it's undermining the shoemaker's economy. Why would you buy shoes from the local shoemakers when you can get a pair of Toms for free from America? Overdependency on foreign aid creates more problems than the amount of shoes that we're giving away. Susan Schimmer-Finning, owner of Good Intentions, says that Toms is doing things for people instead of with people. I don't know how many of you have ever taken Cindy Giles' mission class before? Have any of you? Okay, well, one of the books that you read is When Helping Hurts, and it just talks about how to do missions, short-term missions, long-term missions in foreign countries. And one of the things it says in this book, When Helping Hurts, it says, do not do for people what they can do for themselves. So for example, say that you're going to Honduras on a mission trip and you're going to build a house for somebody or build a church or build some sort of building. But instead of you doing the work, you hire local Honduran people so that the money is going back into the economy and they're having the opportunity to feed their families because you're giving them a job so that they can put food and clothes and whatever else they need to give their family back into the economy. By giving people a job, we help stabilize the economy instead of just giving away our goods and our time and our service. This company, Oliverte Footwear, is actually trying to implement this model, and he's quoted for being the anti-Toms, but he's praising them for the amount of social awareness that they're giving them, but not necessarily the business model, like I mentioned earlier. Tate Watkins wrote an article about Oliverte Footwear, and in it he said that it's the first company to make premium shoes in Africa using African materials and explicitly linking shoes sold by Western retailers to job creation on the continent. Watkins also goes on to mention how he makes local goods and where he gets them, and he gets his leather from Ethiopia by the local free-range cows in Ethiopia, and he gets his rubber from Liberia. DTR, who's the owner of Oliverte Footwear, also says that he started his company in 2009, and by implementing this business model, sales went from 200 pairs of shoes to 10,000 in 2011, with a projected sales of between 20 and 25,000 for this year. He also employs workers in factories selected because they pay relatively high wages, provide employee benefits like subsidized lunches, and they also employ women as half of their workforce. I mentioned this earlier, but DTR is quoted by praising Toms for raising the awareness for people to help foreign countries, but he's skeptical of the business model because it can pressure local shoemakers and vendors in addition to reinforcing stereotypes about the developing world. And one of the things that got me interested in the Toms model and researching about that is that I had heard that in Ethiopia they weren't giving away the shoes because the government didn't want to take away the jobs that the shoemakers had. So they just kept all the shoes that they had been given them in warehouses and wouldn't give them away because then it would take people away from their jobs. So I think that Toms has a really good vision and they have good intentions, but I don't necessarily think that the business model is the best way to go about doing foreign aid. One of the things DTR also says is that if people continue to give away stuff to Africa, then there's no incentive for the dependency that they have on foreign countries to end. And I think as Christians, it's our calling, it's our duty to help the poor relationships rather than just giving away the resources that we have so that we feel better about ourselves. It could be a more effective business model or a more effective way of helping a foreign country. The last thing I want to leave you with is Kelsey Timmerman's model, who's the author of Where I'm Learning. I talked about him earlier. And he says that it's a universal truth that garment workers and shoemakers don't want their kids to grow up to be garment workers and shoemakers. And education can be a way to ensure that. And charity and blessing are great things, and it's great to give away charity, but a job can change a family tree. So one of the examples he gives is that a shoe company has 100 workers, and these 100 workers have 5 kids each. And because they're able to put their kids in school, these kids don't grow up to be shoemakers and garment workers. They have a better opportunity for a job so that they can eventually feed their families. And by a couple generations, they'll have affected 10,000 people. And by 6 generations, you will have affected millions. So good intentions are always our biggest downfall.